Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review. Today, we have a really nice little mod that we're checking out. This is going to add in a new enemy as well as some new weapons, and that mod is Undying Warhammer 40k Necron Synth Replacer by RascalArt. Now, RascalArt has done some 40k replacers before, and this one works much the same as those, except this time it's going to be with the Necrons. Now, before we begin, I do want to preface this video by saying I am not a 40k expert. My knowledge of the 40k universe and lore is very limited, so excuse me if I make any mistakes when talking about the stuff added in this mod, as again, I'm not super familiar with it. I really like the 40k universe. I think it's really cool and interesting, over-the-top sci-fi, but it's just not something I know a lot of, or nor do I have any background in it, so again, excuse my ignorance. Now, this mod is going to add in the Necron race as a synth replacer in Fallout 4. So what this is going to do is replace every instance of a synth with a Necron, and I think it's a perfect fit. I did a little bit of research, and Necrons are robots, and they are made to look humanoid and skeletal, so that is definitely a perfect fitting descriptor of synths as well, which are robots, which are humanoid and bipedal, and do look a little bit like skeletons, at least the Gen 1 variants. Now, additionally, on top of the replacement of the mesh for the synths, you also get a couple of weapons in this pack. Those weapons being the Necron Gauss Flare Rifle and the Lich Blade. Before we get into the weapons, let's talk about the Necrons a little bit first. So, like I said, these are going to replace every instance of a synth. So if you have any mods that modify or add any of the vanilla synths, they may not be affected by this mod. Meaning you can run into some situations where you have regular synths or Necrons or a weird abomination mismatch of both, but as long as you're just running vanilla synths, you should be fine. Even I'm running some armor overhauls for the synth, and that doesn't seem to be affecting this whatsoever. It's really just things that modify the base synths. So as long as you're good with that, this mod should work just fine. Additionally, something that I really like to see with this is it has perfect VATS integration as well as dismemberment. Dismemberment is something that a lot of new race mods aren't able to get quite right, and this mod does it perfectly. If you pop off the Necron's head, it pops off, just like any race would in the vanilla game, which is a very nice touch and helps with the believability of the mod. Now, these guys aren't exactly the most lore-friendly addition to the game. That being said, if you're running a full 40k load order, which at this point is almost possible, you would definitely want to add these. This is definitely a really cool addition and another good way to replace a race from Fallout with a race from 40k, which at this point, you're getting close to being able to do that with just about everything in the game. That being said, stay tuned for a possible 40k mod bundle in the future. Now, if you just want this mod alone and you're not doing a 40k overhaul, there is some argument for this. If you followed along with my Institute overhaul from before, we used a lot of mods to retexture the Institute to turn them kind of black and have a darker undertone to them, and this could work as a synth replacer. As long as you just ignore the fact that it's directly ripped out of 40k, this isn't the most unbelievable thing in the world. It's still just a robotic humanoid synth. It just has a bit of a different aesthetic. So if you wanted your Institute to say be a black and green and you can achieve that with retextures, this might work as a pretty cool synth replacement, but that's really just up to you and how you want to fit this into your load order. My guess is 99% of you will be using it in a 40k load order of some sort. That being said, it is a wonderful, wonderful remesh of the synths. Race replacers are really hard to do, and this one just does it very, very well, so I do want to give props to the mod author for that. Now, let's go ahead and talk about those weapons. One of the first weapons you're going to encounter is this here Lich Blade. This is going to be a melee weapon, similar to the Shish Kebab in that it does have a nice cool flaming effect. This thing has a base ballistic damage of 44 and an energy damage of 26. It has a speed of medium when you're swinging it, a weight of 3 pounds, and a value of 200 caps. To be fair, you won't be fighting synths until later in the game, so 200 caps, while being a bit high, it makes sense. This is a pretty rare weapon. You're not going to find this all the time, just when you encounter these Necrons. Then we have the short Gauss Flare Rifle here. This is the most basic version of the Gauss Flare. This thing can actually be modified at a weapons workbench. We'll take it there in just a second to see what it has to offer. But for starters, a base ballistic damage of 24, a base energy damage of also 24. This thing does shoot plasma cartridges. It has a fire rate of 33, a range of 119, an accuracy of 155, a weight of only 4.8 pounds, and a value of 602 caps. Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember the value of a regular Institute laser, but my guess is this is higher. This is definitely something you could cheese for value, so maybe in an update we could see a reduction to that value, but Maybe it balances itself out if you have a full 40k load order, who knows. The one thing I do want to mention though, this does not have a reload animation. Instead, it has sort of an unlimited ammo source. So as long as you have the plasma cells, you can fire this thing as long as you please. Let's head over to a weapons workbench and see what it has to offer in terms of attachments. So here we are with our Gauss Flare. Really quick, that Lich Blade has no attachments, so you can take it to a weapons workbench, but there's nothing that can be thrown on it at this time. But for the Gauss Flare, you do have a capacitor section where you can have standard, boosted, maximized, or overcharged. You have the short barrel, the automatic barrel, which will make this automatic, and then the barrel sheath, which gives it some extra damage. We have the standard stock, or the Synapse Disruptor, which completely changes the way the rifle looks, which is pretty interesting. We have the options for ammo types. It's just plasma cell, as this is a plasma-based weapon. For sights, we have a standard sight, reflex sight, and a long reflex scope. Now, you can't see any changes. That's because they're actually lenses. If we rotate the weapon here, you'll see they're floating above it right there. Now, I believe these are intended to be used with that stock. As you can see, they're just floating on this version of the weapon. But if we go and grab that Synapse Disruptor, it actually has a mount right here. And then when we go to those sights and we select, say, the long recon scope, you can see now there is the scope floating above it. For muzzles, we do have the option to add in a large bayonet. Now this, I believe, is intended to be used with the other version of the stock, so we'll go ahead and switch it back. So if we grab that Synapse Disruptor, put it to a standard stock, and then throw on the large bayonet, there we can get a look at what it actually looks like. The Synapse Disruptor kind of blocks off a lot of its geometry. And that is it for attachments. Let's go ahead and show these weapons in action just so you can see exactly what you're getting in this mod. So since there are weapons included in this pack, we may as well do a little bit of a damage test. So let's go ahead and check out each of these. First, starting with the melee weapon, then the Gauss Flare with no attachments, and then the Gauss Flare with all of the attachments with maximum upgrades and maximum damage. So, melee time. Let's see how we do with our Lich Blade here. As you can see, it does have a fire effect similar to that of the Shish Kebab, though it doesn't seem to do any fire damage to the Deathclaw, which is pretty interesting. It's just the effect on the weapon itself. Would be nice to say that as maybe an upgrade at the weapons bench, but not too shabby for a melee weapon and no melee perks. Let's see how we do with the Gauss Flare rifle. Now, something you may notice from the hipfire here, this thing is dead accurate. If you see the crosshair, they are literally touching. This thing will go wherever you shoot it, which is nice since it doesn't really have any iron sights. Alright, on the Deathclaw, let's see how we do. Alright, he went down in 21 shots, even though I shot 22. The last one was unnecessary. 21 shots to take him down with a base Gauss Flare, which is pretty good, and this thing doesn't need to reload, so you'll be able to keep shooting this guy, no problem. Let's see how it does with the maximum upgrades. Well, it would have been 7, but I missed. 7 shots compared to 21, so literally 3 times the damage when you have all of the damage modifiers on here. Not to mention, you can upgrade it by having the Rifleman perks as well, which will get this thing probably down to about 1 to 2 shots. Pretty crazy. So yeah, that is Undying, the Warhammer Necron synth replacer. Pretty nice that it includes a couple of weapons as well, making this a really nice all-around little mod pack. Super cool, and I bet it's a really nice addition for you 40k fans out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you want to try it out for yourself, there will be links down in the description below to the mod, as well as the mod author's mod page, because there are also some other really cool race replacers over there, including some more 40k ones, some Halo ones that replace Raiders with Elites, and even some Gears of War replacers. So head over to his mod page if you're interested in converting your Fallout to look like a different game. Pretty cool stuff. With that though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating, subscribe if you haven't already for more videos just like this, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace! And really quick, I'd like to make a shout out to all of our patrons. Your donations are greatly appreciated and really help to support the channel and videos just like this one. So again, thank you.